12 hours before the first missile launches, American tankers slip into formation 30,000 feet above the Persian Gulf, building a hidden airbridge that decides if a strike against Iran is even possible. This is the silent calculus of Day Zero, where a $2.1 billion bomber, shielded by a 3,700-kilometer buffer, becomes the spear point of a 72-hour dismantling. But what does it take to orchestrate an attack so complex it could blind an entire military overnight? The answer starts with a single refueling boom. At 30,000 feet over the Persian Gulf and Red Sea, the backbone of the operation takes shape. KC-135 Stratotankers and KC-46 Pegasus tankers trace silent, looping orbits, each one a flying gas station. The geometry of these tracks is no accident. Crews calculate every turn, holding steady at altitude to minimize fuel burn and maximize the safety of both tanker and receiver. The rhythm is relentless. Every few minutes, a fighter or bomber slides into position behind the boom, guided by a crew that works in 12-hour shifts. Each boom operator manages a delicate dance, lining up nozzle to receptacle and watching gauges as thousands of pounds of jet fuel surge through the pipe at rates topping 1,200 gallons per minute. The universal boom design fits nearly every Allied aircraft from F-15E Strike Eagles to B-2 Spirits, allowing a seamless flow of fuel across the strike package. This airborne refueling network unlocks a trade few outside military circles ever consider. Every pound of fuel delivered in the sky means a pound of bombs or missiles loaded on the ground. Without these tankers, deep strikes into Iran would be impossible. The math is unforgiving. A fully armed F-15E loaded with 19 JDAMs cannot reach targets in central Iran and return without mid-air refueling. With tankers on station, sortie cycles stretch through the night. Pilots launch, strike, refuel, and go back in, sometimes 2 or 3 times before dawn. The invisible airbridge is more than logistics. It is the enabler of tempo, the reason a complex strike can unfold in synchronized waves. For the crews in the boom pod, every successful transfer is a quiet victory, a link in a chain that, if broken, brings the entire operation to a halt. 3,700 kilometers from Iranian airspace, Diego Garcia sits silent and remote in the Indian Ocean. This British-administered atoll is more than a dot on the map. It is a lifeline for the only aircraft able to reach Iran's deepest bunkers. The price tag of $2.1 billion each is too valuable to risk within range of Iranian missiles. While bases in Qatar or the United Arab Emirates offer faster sortie rates, they fall inside the reach of Iran's Sejil and Emad ballistic missiles. Diego Garcia's distance places it far beyond even the longest-range S-300 or Bavar 373 air defense systems, creating a sanctuary where stealth bombers can prepare in safety. For the 509th Bomb Wing, the payoff is clear. Survivability trumps tempo. Weeks before any potential strike, advance teams fly in from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, setting up climate tents and offloading specialized gear. Each B-2 requires a dedicated crew, engineers for the radar-absorbing skin, munitions handlers for the GBU-57 bunker busters, and maintenance teams working around the clock. The logistics footprint is enormous. 6 B-2s on the aprons strain the island's capacity, with bombers often rotated back to the US for repairs that cannot be handled on site. C-17 transports land daily, bringing spare parts, fuel, and classified equipment. Even so, the atoll's limited hangar space and tropical humidity threaten the delicate coatings that make the B-2 invisible to radar. Every detail is calculated for the long game. The distance means each sortie is measured in hours, not minutes, and any surge in tempo risks ground crews falling behind. But the reward is a launch platform immune to missile attack, where each bomber can take off knowing its route to target is clear. For the planners of the 509th, Diego Garcia is not just a base, it is the difference between a strike that survives the first hour and one that never leaves the ground. Launch order travels through the Combat Information Center, and within seconds the Ali Burke-class destroyers in the Persian Gulf spring to life. Hatches slide open on rows of Mark 41 vertical launch cells. Crew members at their consoles confirm target packages, radar sites, command nodes, and communication hubs. Each missile is programmed for a specific point on the map. The first Tomahawk erupts from its cell with a thunderous rush, followed by dozens more in a rolling cascade. Each missile costs nearly $2 million and weighs just over 1 ton, but the value is in their precision and timing. Tomahawks accelerate to 550 miles per hour, dropping to treetop level as they cross the water and skim over coastal terrain. Their guidance computers use digital maps to hug the Earth, weaving through valleys and around ridgelines to stay below radar coverage. Some missiles loiter in holding patterns, circling for minutes until every weapon in the salvo is in position. When the moment comes, they all strike within a tight window, sometimes just seconds apart, overwhelming air defense crews with simultaneous impacts. Inside the Combat Information Center, watch officers track every launch and monitor status reports. The destroyers themselves are exposed during the barrage, and they cannot reload at sea, but the calculation is simple. Saturate the enemy's sensors so thoroughly that the first wave of manned aircraft can cross into Iranian airspace before defenders can regroup. The chaos begins not with an air raid siren, but with the silent arrival of dozens of terrain-hugging missiles, each one a signal that the war has entered its next phase. Inside Iranian air defense bunkers, radar operators face a choice that has no good answer. Every screen glows with tension as the first Tomahawk impacts ripple across the network. Communications chatter grows frantic, then begins to fragment. Electronic warfare planners on the United States side have mapped these moments in detail. Growler jamming cuts through the airwaves, scattering Iranian command links and forcing units to operate on backup channels or go silent. The dilemma is immediate. Power up the search radars and risk becoming a beacon for anti-radiation missiles, or stay dark and lose all visibility as the sky fills with incoming threats. Some crews reach for the switch, knowing that the instant their radar sweeps the horizon, a missile could be tracking their signal. Others hold back, watching the tactical picture dissolve into static. Orders from Central Command arrive late or not at all, garbled by electronic interference. Coordination between batteries collapses as each site is forced to act alone, with no sense of the wider battle. For operators who have drilled for years on rapid detection and response, the paralysis is suffocating. Every second spent offline gives United States strike aircraft a wider corridor. Every radar pulse risks destruction. The pressure mounts, not just from the threat overhead, but from the knowledge that the entire defense grid is fracturing, one isolated console at a time. A B-2 Spirit levels out above 50,000 feet, its bomb bay doors yawning open to the stratosphere. The GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, 30,000 pounds of high-performance steel and explosive, hangs poised for release. Gravity and altitude do the work. By the time the massive ordnance penetrator nears its target, it has accelerated to nearly the speed of sound, its kinetic energy building with every second. 4 lattice fins steer the bomb with real-time corrections, guided by both satellite and inertial navigation. Even if GPS is jammed, the internal system keeps it on course, adjusting for wind or turbulence over the jagged Iranian terrain below. Dual-stage fusing sits at the rear, engineered to survive the shock of impact and to detonate only after the bomb has burrowed deep underground. The steel casing is designed to punch through up to 200 feet of reinforced concrete, or layers of earth and rock, before the explosive core triggers. When the charge finally ignites, the effect underground is seismic. Shockwaves collapse tunnels, crush support structures, and send reverberations through hidden chambers. For the 509th Bomb Wing, every detail of this sequence has been rehearsed and debated, from the altitude of release to the split-second timing of the fuse. Their goal is not just to reach the bunker, but to erase it from within. F-15E Strike Eagles sweep low over the Zagros foothills, hunting for mobile threats hiding in the folds of the landscape. Each jet carries a full load, 19 precision-guided JDAMs, made possible only by fuel taken on from the tankers circling far behind. Pilots work in pairs, their radars scanning for the faint signatures of missile launchers on the move. The terrain itself becomes a weapon, with Iranian crews using valleys and ridgelines to mask their positions. But the Strike Eagle's AESA radars cut through clutter, locking onto convoys and camouflaged vehicles that might otherwise slip away. As the Eagles press forward, the Carrier Strike Group extends its own shield. FA-18 Super Hornets and F-35C Lightning IIs fan out ahead, providing a layered screen against any remaining air threats. EA-18 Growlers jam enemy communications, and E-2D Hawkeyes manage the crowded airspace above. This stacked formation ensures that as bombers and strike jets egress at high speed, the battle space remains secure. The goal is not just to destroy targets, but to dominate the air and keep every avenue open for retreat and re-attack. For the F-15E crews, it's a relentless cycle: find, strike, refuel, and return, each sortie tightening the noose around Iran's mobile defenses. In an era where a single miscalculation can trigger regional chaos, the tools of precision warfare are more accessible and more consequential than ever. Every upgrade, every deployment shapes the next crisis. The real question is not capability, but control. As tensions rise and timelines shorten, what concerns do you have in the coming months? Are we witnessing deterrence or the prelude to inevitable conflict? Share your analysis in the comments below. And for more deep dives into the future of combat, make sure to subscribe to Tomorrow's Warfronts.